This is our management consultancy project. I'm Caroline.
I'm Danielle.
I'm Caleb.
Ben, and I'm Cole.
This is just our a little preview of what we're going to talk about in our presentation. So we want to take a second and look through that. Okay, so some of the background of Supply One. Um, we interviewed Mr. Austin Drew, who is the operations manager for Supply One. He is the operations manager over several warehouses in Atlanta, Gainesville, North Carolina, and Alabama. And his place of work was originally known as Will Height Packaging before it was bought by Supply One in 2021. And a little information on Will Height Packaging. It was founded in Gainesville, Georgia in 1953 by Tom Will Height, and it is now operated by his son and grandson, Philip Will Height Sr. and Philip Will Height Jr. It is a multi-million-dollar business, and it is family owned and operated for 68 years before it was bought by Supply One. They supply packaging, tape, labels, and other packaging materials to food processing centers and manufacturers. One of their biggest customers is Philadelphia Farms, who processes about 80,000 chickens a day. And Supply One is the largest independent supplier of packaging solutions in the United States. It was founded in 1998 by Bill Leith, and the company does have a global presence in Canada. So Austin prioritizes his employees over anything else. This includes employee pay and employee benefits. And to stay organized, he uses sticky notes and flagging emails as his method. Our recommendation to him was to decrease clutter by using a planner and a calendar, but do it by month and by date. He does utilize his employees' opinions and recommendations in decision making. What he'll do is he'll go down to the employee break room and eat lunch with them, get their recommendations, opinions, and have them voice any of their concerns. And for team building exercises, he takes his safety managers out to lunch every month just to go over things. And he is big about promoting from within. Our recommendation for Austin was to employ more team building exercises. He can do this by implementing team communication software such as Slack or Microsoft Teams, and by hosting warehouse cookouts or game nights where they can bring their family, get to know each other better, and build camaraderie and loyalty. So the culture in Austin's warehouse is very family oriented and casual, and their most important key value is people first. Our recommendation to Austin was to prioritize employee well-being. And you can do this by prioritizing mental health, work-life balance, and flexibility, and implementing employee wellness programs, encouraging breaks and vacation time, and being accommodating to their needs. So Supply One is a global business and they have a global presence in Canada. They produce tape, and Austin explained that they are currently struggling with the tariffs change and making things more expensive. Austin is over warehouses in Atlanta, North Carolina, and Alabama, so his job does require him to travel. And even though he's not a global manager, he does work with different cultures in these different warehouses. He believes globalization is beneficial because it brings more money and more diversity into the country. And our recommendation was to develop a more global mindset because different cultures do business differently and have different upbringings which affect their decision making. So everyone can add different things to the business, and to take up learning a new language, which combats language barriers.
For managing ethics and sustainability, the manager Austin explained his core values like putting people first and adapting to customer needs. And then as for sustainability, he talked about how they manage consumption throughout the warehouse and are trying to implement more renewable resources. And some of our recommendations were incorporating ethics more into day-to-day life and working with more sustainable suppliers, and maybe switching to electric transportation could also help with sustainability. For managerial and entrepreneurial skills, he treats the business as if it's his own. He's a good communicator. He's decisive and open to new ideas, which are good traits to have if he wants to start his own business someday. Recommendations we had was starting more innovations and new ventures like expanding and building new locations and finding more suppliers and clients. For planning and goal setting, there was their mission statement, which is that Supply One builds packaging programs which simplifies processes, guarantees savings, and increases efficiency. Their goal is to be your primary source for custom packaging strategies and products that save you money. And as for contingency and crisis plans, they have one set in place where they can contact vendors in case of any disasters. And some recommendations we had was incorporating KPIs monthly, performing a SWOT analysis to see their strengths and weaknesses, and using more strategic plans to evaluate their company. And then for strategy formulation and execution, their core competence compared to their competitors is that no one else does what Supply One does. They're the only manufacturer and supplier of packaging. And recommendations we had for them was performing competitor benchmarking, implementing a customer feedback system, and investing in new technologies that could help manage the warehouse better.
Mine is decision making and structure. Themes for chapter 9 is managerial decision making, open feedback, evaluation, and implementation. Austin needs to improve on going to his employers rather than employers coming to him. Some recommendations that I have is the survey method, going to his employees and tracking the feedback they give him on documents, check-in and debriefs. These could be like just brief 10-minute little meetings or one-on-ones for people that don't feel comfortable speaking in a meeting environment. And rewards and feedback. Rewards for feedback, and this could be bonuses, gift cards, or anything that incentivizes them to give Austin feedback. And then themes for chapter 10 is designing organization structure. This deals with divisions of labor, delegation, and the form of communication for Austin is just being just email, being heavily on service output rather than manufacturing. Investing in rich communication slash phone calls, video calls, or messaging would be better and better efficient than just emails. And then adding a warehouse management system can improve profits and sales with more shipments. Also, weekly follow-ups with fellow managers to make sure their tasks were completed. The next two I have is innovation and human talent. So themes for chapter 11 is managing change and innovation. This is organizational change, product change. And Austin is open for innovation and change, but his corporate employees are not. And some recommendations for him to show the corporate is showing the benefits of change to corporate with new projects such as stats and profit margins. He has 2 new projects underway. One is a CDL school through the company, so people go to the school, get their CDL, and work straight for the company. And I mean, that just increases sales and margin. And the other is the bottom up approach, allowing smaller role employers to say what they think and have a role. Themes for chapter 12 is managing human talent, selection between job and applicant, structured interview, bad work ethic, and Austin pays attention to little details in interviews, which is good. And by bad work ethic, going straight to the employee and sitting them down to figure out what is happening. Recommendations could be a more structured interview process with adding in job simulation questions on what they would do in real world scenarios, allowing comparisons to be easier, and an improvement plan of what is causing employees with issues and giving them feedback on how they can improve or move past situations.
I had diversity and understanding behavior. Themes of chapter 13 were managing diversity. A big thing for him was different opinions and ideas. He was very open to it and likes the different backgrounds for everyone. He does check-ins to make sure everyone feels included. Like Caroline said, he doesn't eat lunch with hired people. He eats with everyone on the floor and talks to them. Some recommendations is make DEI training part of onboarding for all new hires and celebrate diverse holidays and cultures for different types of workers. For themes for chapter 14, it was understanding individual behavior. There's no one-size-fits-all approach to managing or working with others. He believes in don't judge too quickly, ask, observe, and learn. I asked him the question of how do you handle situations where a team member feels excluded? He said that he pulls them to the side, has talks with them. He finds out what has happened in the last month to affect their work ethic and attitude. Recommendations, get to know your team members on a more personal level and using behavioral assessments to guide team dynamics. Next one is leadership and motivating employees. Themes of chapter 15 was leadership. Staying adaptive in a fast-changing industry. He always said he has backup plans in case of an unexpected change in his industry. Some recommendations were develop emotional intelligence. Themes of chapter 16 was motivating employees. He was very adamant on communicating and following up. He likes to get everyone involved, no matter the position. Big into giving promotions to hard workers. Some of the recommendations were recognize and appreciate their work, saying thank you and meaning it in a genuine way. Offer meaningful incentives. This could be bonuses, flexible hours, and extra time off.
All right. Communication teams. So some of the themes for chapter 17 were managing communication mainly. So one thing we noticed, they had their email and OneDrive was kind of their main nervous system, and it's a really backed up and really flawed system. They also use sticky notes and phone for urgent issues, but there's a lot of issues with the chain of command, people not getting the right information, and the degradation of information integrity throughout those chain of command swaps. There's also not any real-time platform for remote sites, like allowing them to like keep each other updated, and they don't have a written escalation ladder. So what we recommended was to have a Microsoft team channel per site and for each function. For example, their tape tape manufacturing plant, or one of the boxing plants, as well as a 15-minute Monday stand up with like a one-page escalation ladder for what to do if something goes wrong. And also having cross-site Tiger teams where they can attack issues as a group, allowing them to work on issues without just relying on those on their own site. For chapter 18, the theme was leading teams. Austin likes to promote from within. He values adaptability and being able to adapt to a new job in the workplace. With the Gainesville drivers, there's a high cohesion. So along with that, they were giving out safety pins for good driving records and avoiding accidents. The warehouses still guarded their revenue. They made sure that they were performing well, and that could possibly hinder the company as a whole performing, as they were focusing more on their own warehouse. And they had really informal team building, and they didn't have any way to like improve on what they'd been doing. So we recommend quarterly after action reviews, or AARs, in the OneDrive, so they can review what they've done that quarter and what they can improve, and also expand the PIN program past the drivers to all the employees. So for good conduct, safety, and so on. And last, we got quality and performance. So the themes for chapter 19 are basically managing those quality and performance factors. Some of their lagging metrics were their annual reviews. They only did reviews annually, not quarterly, and they did have the pins and the hats and all that after a year, but those aren't super accurate, and they're hard to pinpoint issues over such a long period of time. They also didn't really have a big profit and loss focus monthly, so that could use some new process measures that would help improve their possible losses on the company side. They also didn't have a shared defect log, SPC, or OTIF tracking site, so they had no way to track all their issues across the board. And like I said in the last slide, the lessons learned from issues were siloed across the warehouses, so they were stuck in that warehouse and knowledge was not shared. So some of our recommendations were to have a OneDrive that basically covers everything, and they review it on Friday over Teams. That way they can all be on the same page. Also have new standard operating procedures and audit on a quarterly or even monthly basis to make sure everyone is up to standard. Also implement pilot SPC charts at the Rockborough plant. It would really help with just the optimization of their plant as a whole. And like I said, continue with the PIN performance with bronze, silver, and gold for quality targets and whatever key performance indicators they want. All right. I just want to thank you for listening, and that's all we got.